guys, it's Cal from the Lighting Doctor here. Today I want to talk to you guys a little bit about transformers and the different types that are out there. It's one of the questions I get asked all the time. So I'm going to walk you through really 4 different types of transformers, and it doesn't really matter the brand. You're going to see these 4 types more times than not, and different brands will all have their different versions of it, but they're basically the same. And the first one I'm going to talk to you about is just a basic transformer. This one's actually from Kichler. This is a 120 watt transformer. So I'll explain to you guys in a little bit how to go and size that transformer, but I'll walk you through what I like about this transformer first. So it's a 120 watt transformer, which basically means if you're sizing your transformer, what you need to do is add up the total of all the lights that you have on your system. So say for example you have a bunch of accent lights and each one of those is 5 watts each. Then if you have 10 of those on your system, you're looking at 50 watts. So what you want to do is you want to size your transformer at least 20% bigger than that. So if you have 50 watts, you want to do at least a 60 watt transformer or a little bit bigger. So this is a 120 watt transformer, so we can easily fit 15 to 20 some lights on this, depending on what kind of lights that we're using. So I like this one because it's very simple. It has a photocell on it, so all a photocell does is basically just reads the sunlight, and it's going to turn your lights on and off with daylight and with nighttime. So it's a great simple way to do that. The only thing you got to bear in mind anytime you're using a photocell is where you place that transformer, because if it's an area that's too shaded, then it's going to think it's nighttime all the time and your lights are never going to turn off. So that's the only thing you need to know about photocell. The other reason I like this transformer is it has the small timers here so that you can do a couple different things. One, you can just turn it off and keep it off, and you don't have to unplug it or anything. You can also turn it to the on position and just leave your lights on all the time, or it's a great way to go and test the lights. The other thing you can do is you can set it to auto, so it just runs with basically dawn and dusk, or you can have 4, 6, and 8 hour timers. So basically what that does is it's going to turn the lights off 4, 6, or 8 hours after they've been on. So this is one of the types of transformers you'll see. Different companies, different brands make a very similar style one that you'll see often. The only real drawback to this transformer is, one, it is a little bit smaller, so it's only 120 watts, so you're going to be limited to the number of lights that you can put on this. But I'm going to say if you're 16 lights or under, this is probably going to be a good affordable option for you. The other thing about it is that your taps on here that you put your wires into are only 12 volt taps. So all that means is one thing to consider is voltage drop. Now if you're using an LED system, it's not something you have to worry too much about, but just know that a good quality LED light is going to run anywhere between 9 and 12 volts of power it's going to require to run that light efficiently and to run it properly. Which means if you're using a 12 volt tap, you can lose up to 3 volts along the line. So a general rule of thumb is if you're putting 12 to 15 lights and you're only using 250 feet of low voltage 12-2 landscape wire, you're probably going to be fine with a transformer like this. But the other drawback is also these taps are quite small, so you're only going to be able to fit one set of wires into this transformer. So there's a little trick that I'll explain to you guys in a bit about that, and how you can get around that if you do choose this transformer. But this is a really good basic economy model that's going to run 12 to 16 lights, no problem. And one thing you can do, and we often do, just to give it a little extra kick and make it a Wi-Fi transformer, is we use these WiON outdoor Wi-Fi timers. So basically the way we use this is, rather than plugging your transformer directly into your GFCI receptacle, what you do is you plug this into the receptacle outside, and then you plug your transformer into here, and then you just leave this in the on position, and you can control all your lighting system now via WiON's app. The other reason I like it is it has a multitude of different timer options, so you can still have it run with dawn and dusk and many other things like that. So it's a great way to do it. And the last tip I'll tell you about transformers, if you are putting it outside and it's going to be out in the elements, a good thing to get is like a waterproof box like this. These are $4 or $5 at any home improvement store, but what it's going to do is just going to keep the water out of the outlet for you. So that's our first transformer. I'll explain to you how we get into a little bit bigger transformer. Okay, so if you're looking at a system and you've got more than 12 lights, you might want to upgrade to a slightly bigger transformer. So this is a transformer, you find it in all our premium kits that have usually 20 lights or more, and it's a 150 watt transformer, so it's a little bit bigger, so you can fit a little bit more lights on it. So again, you know, you could get up to 120, 130 watts on this transformer and have no problem running your lights. So that's roughly 20 to 25, sometimes 30 or 40 lights depending on what type of light that you're using. So a little bit bigger transformer. The other reason I like this one too is that the terminals on it are a little bit bigger. So if you need to fit more than one wire in to each one of these terminals, you can easily do that. Whereas on some of the smaller transformers, you can't do that. And I'll explain in a second why that's important. The other thing that I like about these ones, a little bit bigger, is that the voltage taps on these are 15 volts. So what that means is that instead of it just starting at 12 volts, you're actually starting at 15 volts, which means now you can lose even more power or more voltage drop along that line and still have your lights work at 100% efficiency. So like I said before, most of the LED bulbs that are out there are going to run very efficiently at anywhere from 9 to 15 volts. So you can lose up to 6 volts down the line with this transformer and still have those lights at the end working properly. And just to kind of sum that up, what that looks like is that's roughly 25 to 30 lights on a line that is 300 feet out before you start even having to worry about losing 6 volts of voltage down the line. But a trick that I'll mention with that is one thing you can do too is say you have a system with 40 lights and you don't think, and the transformer is big enough to handle it because some of them are path lights maybe that only use 2 watts, so you can easily fit those 40 lights on this transformer, but you're worried about the voltage drop because you have to run some of those a long ways out. So say they're on 2 sets of the driveway and you're worried about losing all that voltage. Well, what you can do now is you can actually put one line that comes out of the transformer that goes one way and then another line that comes out and goes to the other set of lights. So you could have 20 lights on one and 20 lights on the other, but you're still starting at 15 volts at the tap, which means you're not losing all the voltage drop if you had 40 lights on that system. You're really only losing as if you had 20 because you've got 15 volts starting from here and you get that all the way down the line, down both runs. So that's a easy way to do that. If you don't want to have to add multiple transformers and you want to save some money, you can do that. You can run 2 separate lines. You can even run 3 and easily fit those wires into this terminal. And same thing to make this Wi-Fi. You can easily do that with the WiOn timer. Same thing, you plug this into your receptacle, you plug this guy into your WiOn timer, and then you just flick the on switch and leave it on, and then you control everything via your app or your Amazon Alexa. So now say you're working on a system that you have, 25, 30, 40 lights and they're bigger lights, and you have a lot more wattage. So say you have 40 lights and they're each using 5 watts each, that's 200 watts. Well, all of a sudden 120 watt and 150 watt transformer is not going to be big enough. So you're going to have to upgrade it to something like this, which is like a 300 watt transformer. Now you'll see a lot of these with older systems that are 600, 900, 1200 watt transformers, which are huge. But that was mainly for halogen systems. With an LED system, you rarely are going to need to get over 300 watts. But with something like this, now you can fit more lights on it. And the other thing you'll usually find with these is they'll have more than one tap on it. So they'll have a 12 volt and a 15 volt tap, sometimes a 13, sometimes a 14 volt tap, and have multiple ones. And all that's for is so now instead of having to fit all 3 of your wires into one tap, you can go and separate them. So you can have one line that's maybe a little bit closer coming off that 12 volt tap, then you can have another line of lights coming off your 15 volt tap that maybe goes a little bit further. And again, because you're starting at 15 volts, you can afford to lose more voltage down that line, have more voltage drop, and still have those lights work properly. It's not like a halogen system where you really have to do the math and figure out how far you're running those lights and how many bulbs are on each line. With LED, it just makes it very simple because each one of those lights is using a very small wattage to operate that light. So this is just an example of a bigger transformer now. Again, all the different manufacturers have their version, but they're basically the same. You're going to find multiple taps and they're just a little bit bigger. So if you're looking at 30, 40 lights, this is probably the transformer that you want to upgrade to. The last option is you really get into the bigger, more expensive transformers. This is still only a 300 watt transformer, but now it's a digital transformer. There's a couple different models of digital transformers out there, and they're a little bit different. They're basically the same principles. You just usually have more timer options and more features built in. And then it also, a lot of these, and this one is from FX Luminaire, this is their ZDC controller, because I always get asked about color changing lights. Well, this is a great way to go and do that. Bear in mind that anytime you're looking at a color changing system, you're looking at spending 2, 3, 4 times the cost of what you would on a regular system. This is the same system I have at my house. It works great. There are some other options for color changing and whatnot with Bluetooth technology and drop-in bulbs that are a little bit more affordable. They still have their kinks to work out, but the technology keeps getting better and the price keeps coming down. So there will be more options available down the road, but I really like this transformer. If you're looking at doing any of that in zoning and dimming and color, go check out FX Luminaire's ZDC transformer, as well as some of their digital transformers. If you're looking at other color changing options, you can just do a Google search or go check on our website for some of the Bluetooth color changing options. But just know there's a lot more involved and entailed with a transformer like this, and the cost gets a little bit more, but you'll see a lot of these out there. And I won't go too much into this transformer because that's for another video. As I said, there's a lot more to programming a digital transformer.